Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise, get you informed fast. Today, we're plunging into something called scoping studies.
Mm.
You might have heard of them. They're really gaining traction.
Definitely.
They're seen as this powerful way to quickly get a handle on a whole research field.
That's right. And it's actually quite striking. Over half of all the ones published came out just since 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're influencing everything from, future research plans to actual policy.
So our mission today, we want to unpack what's going on with scoping studies right now.
Right.
Look at their strengths, sure, but also the challenges. And there's this ongoing debate about what they even are. We're basing this on a key research article exploring just that.
And I think that really gets to the heart of it. There's this core tension, right? Everyone agrees they're useful, they're popular, but there's just no universal agreement. Not on the name, the definition, or even the exact steps you should take.
Why is that?
A lot of it seems to come down to the sheer diversity of fields using them, everyone adopting this method for slightly different reasons, different purposes.
So it's a powerful tool, but maybe a bit undefined.
Exactly. Still finding its feet, you could say.
Okay, so let's break that down. If there's debate, what do we generally mean when we say scoping study?
Yeah.
What are they?
Okay, so think of them as exploratory projects. Their main job is to systematically map out the literature that exists on a topic.
Map it out, like draw a map.
Well, sort of. More like creating a high-level overview, identifying the key ideas, the theories people are using, where the evidence is coming from, and really importantly, where the gaps are, what isn't being researched.
Ah, okay. So finding the unknowns, too.
Precisely. It's about examining the extent, the range, and the nature of what research has been done, getting the lay of the land.
That sounds incredibly broad, though. Is that always a good thing, that kind of flexibility?
It's fascinating because that's exactly where the strengths and challenges collide. People in the study definitely pointed to strengths like, yes, getting that great overview of the evidence state, the breadth, the wide scope.
Right.
And that lets you include all sorts of stuff, published papers, yes, but also gray literature.
Gray literature.
Yeah, things like conference papers, maybe government reports, dissertations, stuff that hasn't necessarily gone through the standard journal process.
Okay.
Plus, they can handle a wide range of study designs. They're seen as systematic, transparent, but crucially not as rigid as a full systematic review.
Which has those super strict rules.
Exactly. Very strict protocols for what gets included, how it's analyzed. Scoping studies are more flexible.
But you said that flexibility.
Yeah.
That's also the challenge. That seems like a key tension here.
It really is. That same flexibility, that broad scope, it makes it really hard sometimes to draw clear lines, to define the actual boundaries of the study.
I can imagine. You just start looking and just find more and more.
Precisely. And that often leads to researchers being swamped with data, just an overwhelming amount. And maybe not surprisingly, it often means these studies take way longer than anyone planned.
Right. Like the attic analogy you sometimes hear, start tidying one corner.
And suddenly the whole thing's unpacked. Yeah, something like that. You need a clear plan or it gets messy.
Okay, so if the scope is tricky, what about just the name? Do people even agree on what to call these things?
Another area with no consensus, actually, the study found quite a split, a majority, about 68%. They liked scoping review. I think the idea there is to align it more with systematic reviews, give it that familiar structure.
Okay, makes sense.
But others really pushed for scoping study. They felt study better captured the analysis part. Often there's a thematic analysis component. And importantly, it acknowledges that sometimes there's this consultation phase.
So it's not just semantics. It reflects different ideas about what the method actually does.
Exactly, what its contribution is.
So despite all this debate on names and scope, are there things people do agree on, like core features of the method?
Yes, definitely. Experts in the field generally pointed to a few key things. First, that exploratory mapping idea we talked about. Second, it's usually an iterative process. You might refine your question as you go.
Oh.
Third, including that gray literature is pretty standard. And fourth, this is a big one. There's generally no quality assessment of the studies you include.
No quality check, so you don't judge if the study was done well.
Right. That's a key difference from systematic reviews. It's not about saying this is good research or this is bad. It's just about identifying that it exists and relates to your topic. Mapping, not critiquing.
Got it. And the consultation phase you mentioned, what's that about?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So if a scoping study does include this, it's usually a formal step. It's not just asking a few colleagues for quick thoughts. It often means properly recruiting stakeholders or experts, collecting data from them, maybe interviews or surveys, and then analyzing that input. Sometimes even needs ethics approval.
So it's about getting totally new information beyond the published stuff.
Exactly. Bringing in fresh perspectives, maybe identifying issues or nuances the literature missed. It can really shape the study's findings or how they're interpreted.
Okay, this is really helpful. So for you, listening in, understanding these nuances, the flexibility, the lack of quality appraisal, the potential consultation, it's pretty important, isn't
I
it?
think so, yeah.
Whether you're a researcher yourself, maybe planning one of these, or just someone trying to make sense of information, especially in complex fields like health. Recognizing these features helps you evaluate how knowledge is being pulled together and presented. You understand the strengths, but also the potential limitations.
Absolutely. This deep dive really shows that scoping studies are, well, a genuinely powerful tool for navigating all this information we have now, but they're still evolving. The field is actively working on getting clearer, more consistent guidelines, but it's not quite there yet.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. How does this whole effort to standardize a research method that's still changing? How does that mirror our own constant need for clarity, but also adaptability when we try to understand any new or complex field ourselves? Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.